Okay, this is lesson 1. We're gonna do a little bit of review on whole number, place value, expanded notation, reading and writing whole numbers, and addition. So let's first remember what are the counting or natural numbers. It's the ones that we use for counting. So they're going to start with 1. So we're going to put here 1, 2, 3, 4. You use your fingers to count. So those are the counting or natural numbers. They are infinite, but they start on 1. Now the whole numbers are the natural numbers, but we also include 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they keep going forever, infinite, but they start on 0. Okay, notice that we don't have negative numbers right now. We just have those numbers right now. Okay, so what you have to remember is that we have the place values, and here we have the decimal point, and then 3 this way, we have the units or the ones, the tens and the hundreds. And after each of them, to separate each family, we have a comma. So then we have the comma, and we have the family of the thousands. And so we are going to have the thousands, the 10,000s, and the 100,000s. Then we have another comma, and we have the millions. And we have the millions, 10 millions, 100 millions. Then we have another comma, and we have the billions, the 10 billions, 100 billions, and then we have another comma, and we have the trillions, 10 trillions, and 100 trillions. So it's very important that you memorize these by memory. Okay, then we're going to see if they give us a number like that, how do we find the value? So 761,345. What is the value of 5? Well, since it's here in the first space after the decimal point, then is in the units or the ones place. So the value is 5 because it's 5 times 1, which is 5. Now the 1 is here in the thousands place, right here. So it's 1 times 1,000. So the value of that 1 is not 1, is 1,000. And then we have the 7. The 7 is in the 100,000s right here. And so that one is 7 times. And then we have the 100,000. So it's 700,000. Again, the value is given by the place where the numbers are. Okay, now another thing we want to remember is how to do expanded notation. Expanded notation, as the name says, is when we expand this number, for example, the 730,050, and we're going to write it, putting the value of each of the numbers. So let's start with 7. 7 is in the 100,000s right here. So we have to multiply 7 times 100,000. Then we're going to, we can put that in parentheses just so that we remember that goes first. Then we're going to add, and the next number is in the 10,000s. So we're going to put 3 times 10,000 or 10,000. Then we're going to continue, and we have a 0. So 0 times 0 is 0. There's another 0, and then we have the 5. So we're going to put the 5 times the 10 because it's right here in the tens place. So 5 times 10. Now notice, if you multiply these things, 7 times 100,000 is 700,000. 3 times 10,000 is 30,000. And then 5 times 10 is 50. If we multiply and add those, we get the original number. This here is the expanded notation of this number, okay? It's pretty easy. You just have to multiply by the place value or the value that is given by the place where the number is. Okay, the next section is about reading and writing whole numbers. Now, you have to know how to write the numbers from 1 through 19, and you should know those by now. Now, if we want to go from 20 to 100, what we have to remember is that we're going to use the hyphen. So notice here, we are going to put 20 hyphen and the 3, 23. And we do that with all of them, all the way to the 90s. So 23 with a hyphen, 35 with a hyphen, 42 with a hyphen, and all of those, okay? Now, we can also use the hyphen as a modifier, okay? When we have the words, for example, 10,000 here, we're not going to put the hyphen, but if we're using it as the 10,000s place, then we do put the hyphen, okay? Here are some other examples when we put the hyphen. For example, when we say 100 millions, and then we have the hyphen, or 10 billions, or 100,000s. So we're talking about the place value, we use the hyphen, okay? The little line. Okay, and then another very, very, very important thing is the use of this word and, okay? In conversational English, it's very common to say 501 for something like this, 501, but that is incorrect in math, okay? You just say 501. This is correct. Why? Because this word and represent the decimal. So if I say 501, what I'm actually saying is 501. Okay? So be very careful because we're used to saying the word and, but it is not correct. Okay? So the next one will be 370 instead of 370. And then 422 instead of 422, okay? Again, if we were to write that with the decimal, it would be 370 or 422, which is different from what we are actually trying to say here or here. So be careful with that word and, okay? Okay, let's continue with some other examples. It says here, use words to write this number in green. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to rewrite the number and then put the decimal point and then start writing the commas for each family. So we count 3, comma. We count another 3, comma. And that gives me very clearly what are the families that I have. Notice here that since this doesn't have a last name, this is the thousands, these are the millions. So I know that's where we're starting, okay? So I'm gonna move here. So what we're gonna say is, for example, 52 with the hyphen, don't forget the hyphen, million, comma. Now notice, I don't say millions, I just say million, no S. Then we put the comma. Wherever there is a comma, we put a comma in the writing. Okay, so 52 million, comma. 370,000, because that's the last name of that second family, comma, and then 149 with the hyphen. Okay, it's very simple, but you have to put the decimal and the commas so that you can see clearly what families you have. All right, let's do this next example. It says, use digits to write 42,001,017. So what we're going to do in this case is we're going to actually put the different lines or the spaces that represent the values. So 42 million, comma, and after that we have the thousands, comma, and then no last name, decimal point. So now we start filling in with what the information they gave us. So 42 million, then we have 1,000. So we have to put it here so that it says 1,000. Because if I put it, for example, here, and I put the zeros, that's going to be 10,000. And if I put it here and I put the zeros, that's going to be 100,000. So I have to be careful to put it in the right place, right here, Okay, so that is 1,000. And the same with 17. I have to put 17 here so that it has the value of the place value, and I don't change it to 170 or something else. Okay, so do this, use the lines. That would help you make this a lot easier. Okay, because sometimes whenever we have zeros, then we forget that family and we actually write it wrong because we don't do it this way. So use the commas, use the lines to put the place values and the families. Okay, the last example is about addition. What you have to remember about that addition is that you have to align the decimal. Okay, both in addition and subtraction, you have to align the decimal. Okay, so in this case, I have to start with the 5, and I'll put the 5 here. Now the decimal point is right here. It's not given, but we know that it's after the 5. Then we have 281, so I put 281. Notice how the decimals are aligned. And then we have 3 cents. Now 3 cents, we have to put the 0. And again, we have to be careful because if I put here, that's not cents. The cents is actually here, 3 cents. And then we add. So it's $7.84. And that's it. That's the lesson for today. It was a long lesson because we had several topics, but pretty easy. If you have any questions, go back to the examples and review what we learned today. Okay? Good job. I'll see you in the next lesson.